Let's recall the past. Mental health, a fragile thread, but we'll find strength. Let love spread. Life's a climb. Just take a step. Rise above. Find your breath in the darkness. We will find a shining light to free our mind. To free our mind. Self will bloom like petals bloom, shedding tears will heal the wounds and the chaos. Let's find peace, embrace the pain, let it release.
Relax your mind. It's divine time.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep. Mic check.
Yep.
1 2 1 2.
Yeah.
All right. I want to jump straight into this one. I'm just gonna be like ready, set, go. So tonight we're gonna be covering navigating the differences of men and women's thought processes and how to effectively communicate with one another. With that one, I'm like, we have. Let me see where y'all at. Two people that I know are very educated in this. I got a bag of potato chips. That's Dario.
Hey,
you see a deer in the headlights.
The full freeze. You know what I'm saying? The full freeze was everything. Like
that was funny. But as I was saying,
yeah.
I'm like, I know Impossible. You've got some experience on dealing with the feminine and masculine energy, balancing it with yourself. So, and then with Miss Sigma Uno, I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were on a panel before talking about a topic that was kind of similar that dealt with like the dating and everything, and then the expectations of men and women. I think it was. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I don't feel that we'll be steering too far away from that. And with that, I'm like, let's go ahead and kick it off. First question I want to ask, just to kind of start it off with something to go ahead and get our minds thinking a little bit. When it comes down to a relationship, a heterosexual relationship, what do you feel is one of the number one leading causes to an argument between the two?
Anybody?
Failure to communicate or failure to listen when communicated?
Failure to communicate.
I can agree.
Listen. And who would you say is more prone to the not communicating part?
Men.
I say 50-50.
Really depends on how they were raised and what they've been through, their traumatic experiences and their past relationships.
I can agree with that.
Okay. Tag. Can you hit a little more on that for me? Go ahead with it, Vexen.
Yeah. So like, realistically speaking, like, it really depends on, like how you were raised, which will end up, and what you took from that. Because of course, how you were raised versus what you learned from how you were raised affects everything. Prejudice doesn't have to define you. You can grow against prejudice. And so beyond that, you'll approach life the way you approach life. You will step into relationships how you step into relationships. Some people conform, some people create. And it really depends on your specific perspective lens, as well as the perspective lenses you've gained over the years. A lot of people don't look past their own perspective lens, and a lot of people are constantly trying to get new perspective. So when it comes down to all of that, who generally doesn't listen more, it really depends on like how guarded they are, and how right that person thinks they are. Because God knows that like I end up stumbling a lot on communicating my feelings because I end up taking a lot more time to try and process my feelings than a lot of people. So I, especially if I'm feeling forced to, be forthright when I'm not ready to, then I will blurt something out that might only be a half truth, and then I'll be kind of shutting down and ruining about it for the next week or so until I can figure it out. And a lot of people are like that. My wife, she'll shut down right away. If she's not really, understanding her feelings in that moment and is having trouble communicating that, she'll just kind of like, cold shoulder a little bit and like kind of shut down and go a little mute, and not talk about her feelings. And then we'll get through that. And, we've worked through that together because we try to listen to each other and we try to understand each other. Yeah. Any questions?
Nah. I just add on to that and say that most people are in relationships where they're not in a conversation. They just want to say what they say. They don't really hear what you hear because they just want to be in control of whatever the dynamics is really going on, whether who's listening or whether who's just talking. They want to be in some type of level of control through that. So a lot of times we have a difficulty communicating because someone wants to control the narrative about whatever's happening in that particular moment, whether it's dinner, relationships, whether it's some old stuff that you didn't even know you was carrying around with you for the last 20 years. Like, it could be anything that can cause you not to speak. Like, why you think most people it's easy to shut down? Where you think they get it from? Somewhere in society, somewhere in our environment, it made it comfortable to just shut it down.
Well, sometimes it's not worth it. Some people listen to respond. They listen specifically for their trigger words because they know where the conversation is going without listening to what the person is saying in its totality. They're listening for those trigger words so they can mouth right back off at you what they thought they heard, and they didn't hear anything. They just heard that one trigger word.
Those are very ineffective communicators.
Yeah.
That's a very ineffective communicator because when a whole conversation is for you, pretty much a conversation is like a mini debate, especially when it comes down to you really communicating in a relationship about your feelings. It's technically a debate because you're trying to have this person see why you feel this way about a certain topic. So if you can't sit here and hear the other side out and see their opinion on the situation, because sometimes as a person, it can be your feelings and you can be overreacting. So if you understand and know how to properly communicate that, it doesn't matter if that person really agrees with what you say, but at least that person understands now why you feel that way. Some people can't do that, and now you leave that person like, dang, this person just tripping. I don't know what the heck is wrong with this person.
Which is why it shouldn't be a debate. It should just be a matter of a person listening to what you feel, how you feel that way, why you feel that way, so that they know that maybe that's something that they shouldn't do or something that they shouldn't say because that's the trigger for you. That knowing that might not have been your intent. However, the statement that you just said is a trigger for me because this. Mind you, I know you're not that individual. I understand this is not that situation. But this is how I feel about what you said. And in order to do that, you literally have to listen to the totality of what the individual said, because you don't get context just on a little piece. You have to have the whole thing.
I agree.
And when you make mistakes in conversation, be willing to reel yourself back and like take that extra second to really understand, because we all make mistakes.
Yep. Like I tell people, like within a few, like if I know I'm be rocking with a person, I get it off like early as heck. I be like, look, I am a blunt person. Sometimes I only know how to say things a certain way. So if I say anything in the course of us having this friendship, whatever we have, that may offend you, please let me know so I can clarify what I meant.
Put that disclosure.
But they always forget. Yeah, they always forget. And when I say some blunt shit, they be like, "You asshole! What did I say?"
Right.
I do. Just to tag on to that real quick, Dario. Would you say that the way that a man's mind works and a way that a woman's mind works, for you, you're not thinking you're not thinking anything disrespectful, thinking that you're saying anything disrespectful, but maybe a woman would take it that way?
Oh, completely.
And
I see it all the time when
it's a comment on that because I'm not a woman.
I can go. Me neither, and I can go to the great debate because I would love to know why some women allow their friends to call them the B word, but if a man was to do it, it's so disrespectful. Because me personally, I don't let my homeboys walk around calling me a fuck nigga. Like that's the whole thing. I don't like. It's the mindsets. Like, how is that okay for this person to call you that? But if I was to call you that, it's this whole thing with guys. If that's gonna be disrespectful to me, ain't nobody finna call me that.
I agree. And I mean, you see that a lot. For example, there was a song once that came out where they're like, what was it? I'm a boss ass, yeah. Like they're like, I'm a boss ass bitch, and like girls over here all calling, oh, that's my bitch and all that stuff. I'm like, why do you want to consider yourself that? Which I heard someone tell me the other day. They were like, a bitch stands for, and she had said something, and I was like, it made sense, but I was just like, still that.
Look that shit up in it. I tell them all, look that shit up in the dictionary.
A female dog.
Or a bitter woman.
It tracks back to the caliber of individual
and
the individual that they surround themselves with. It's one of those things where you are what you eat, you are what you surround yourself with. And no, that's not acceptable. That goes back to, it can be, the B word, the N word, all of them things are all clumped together for me because they all have negative connotations. I don't care if we share a complexion. I am not your N. I'm not your B. I'm not the one. No.
Now see that you communicated that, I would never call you that. I would never call you my nigga. I would never do that. Cause I call everybody that. Like if I like really fuck with you, I call everybody niggas. White people, Chinese, Mexicans. Because nigga,
don't get it twisted. There is some, by definition, very.
But see, if I'm gonna call you that, I'm gonna call you what it really is, and I'm gonna put that hard ER on the end of that motherfucker. Because to me, those are two different words. The English language showed me that if you change anything in that word, it will change the whole definition. Because if you knock an E, if you put an E at the end of hat, that bitch turns into hate.
Man.
So how is this not another new word?
That right there. I mean, that's the thing, though. I'm like, and I mean,
that's man's mentality right there.
Let me. So when I was in Hawaii, we had a lot of Hawaiian Samoans run around saying "nigga" all the time, and of course they big as hell, so nobody really tried to do anything. And we watched one melanated individual try and stand up, and he literally got put in the hospital. Everybody was like, "Nah, fuck that, we ain't doing that shit no more." But if you think about it,
jump that nigga.
The crackers of the whips were doing the ER, and even to this day, I'm like, when people still say it, I'm like, y'all realize that still got history. Like, okay, y'all try to change it and make it something that y'all can really, y'all trying to make it something positive-ish, so that way y'all can say it on a day-to-day. Like y'all trying to lessen the meaning of it. I'm like, it doesn't work like
take
that.
ownership of it, and no.
Well,
I've heard arguments on it, and I know.
They started saying nigga because they couldn't say negro. They learned the word from the Spanish people for saying black.
Hey yo, Vexen.
And they couldn't say negro, so they said nigger. That's where it really originated from.
Experiment real quick that might get me in trouble.
What's up?
She said, never mind. My wife said not to. So yeah, I understand why they couldn't say negro.
Yeah,
but
if you do deeper research on it, you find out the real meanings of it.
All right, well let's I'm gonna roll this back in so we can get a little back onto the topic. Everybody says that men and women think differently. There's things that a man can have a conversation with a man and talk straight to him, but yet when a man talks to a woman, a lot of times they say they have to speak a different language. For the men, do y'all feel that way?
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
So I heard somebody
say.
What
language do we speak? I'm sorry.
I'm a man. I don't know what language I speak. All I know is there's time.
I'm asking a question. It's a different language.
Okay.
Say something to Danley, and then say the same thing to me.
It's not like
you speak the languages though.
That right. Hold on. That right there. The emotion that came with the question. Women speak with emotion. Men speak in logic. So that's why men blurt out. That's why men just blurt out things sometimes. Whereas a woman, sometimes she done thought about that shit before she say it to you. Men, we think on our toes. Yeah, we think on our toes as the conversation goes on. That woman, she has that whole list of her questions in the back of her mind. She has became well prepared because she is emotionally attached to this argument. Men, we're not. We just logically think that.
So why does every conversation have to be an argument?
No, I'm not even saying an argument. I'm saying through life, period. Women think about it through things emotionally. Whereas men will think about something through logic. Like we'll sit on something and ponder like, is this the right decision? Women, most of the time they be like, shit, fuck this. I'm going to get it. I got it.
I mean, I'd be falling off the seat of my pants too, but then at the same time, I consider myself non-binary. I don't really I don't associate myself to either gender role. I represent mask, but like I don't mind being called whatever pronoun. Like it really doesn't fucking bother me. So like, and sometimes I'll sit back and I will think logically about a situation, but sometimes I am just flying off the seat of my pants, Annabelle's the same way. She's she'll be blurting out shit too. She's very, very logically minded, almost a lot more than I am. And so like the argument is on both sides. Like it shouldn't be an argument because like people are people at the end of the day. And how you think is how you think. We're a product of our environments, but we make our choices from that. I don't know. I shouldn't say we're a product of our environment. Our environment,
we are
to where we are now.
We are definitely a product of our environment, and I'm gonna go ahead and put all my cards on the table while we're having this conversation. So it is what it is. I am a woman. However, I was a woman raised in a household of nothing but men. Only time I was surrounded by women or other girls was in school, and 9 times out of 10, if they were trying to hang out with me, it was to hook up with one of my siblings, which was not a good look. But to live in a house with nothing but men and listen to women talk all day, I don't know how y'all do it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Women are just as bad as men in their own setting. There's in fact, I would even dare to say worse. Women are worse than men.
Dang.
When it comes to women having conversations, because where you guys think women have a line,
they don't.
No holds barred. They do not. They do not. So that when
and that's
you're
the
in
emotion
with the friend or whatever, I wouldn't even say it's emotion. as far as I'm concerned, I am not going to have a conversation with any, I guess I shouldn't use this word, but it is the word that I'm going to use for this purpose. I am not going to discuss my relationship with my husband or boyfriend or whatever that looks like with another female. Yeah, because I've been in a room full of females discussing men. That's not a wise thing to do. It just isn't. Just like, for all intents and purposes, being a man telling your boys everything about your girl. Not a wise thing to do. Not a wise thing to do, because everybody that's in that room isn't necessarily there for you. That's not your friend. That's not your homeboy. There's somebody else in that room.
And they will pick apart the things you say and like twist it however they can, so they can, you know, build up their posterity and make themselves look better and steal your bitch or whatever, you know.
Yeah, for real. Like, honestly, when I'm in a relationship, my friends are my friends. Your friends are your friends. We don't need to intermingle, because I done had that happen, and she kept hanging around my friends afterwards. So I had to stop being friends with all them niggas.
Oh, wow.
Because y'all disloyal. Like, how could y'all still hang around this person?
Right.
Like, the only reason y'all know this person is through me.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't do that. I don't do that disloyalty mess. Like, that's wrong. Like, how could you do that? Like, I ain't finna go walk and hang around your friends. I ain't calling your friends up like, hey, what y'all doing this weekend? Like, nah. That's some diabolical shit.
I got some to add on to that, to what Miss Sigma Uno just said, and what Rio was talking about, how when it comes down to the emotions, what I've noticed, because I grew up with a bunch of women, that's probably why I tend to gravitate. Well, I learned a lot of stuff about myself at home, but at the same time, I'm a little more comfortable being around women, because ultimately when I'm around guys, all they really want to talk about is smashing. Like, they see a girl and it's like, y'all, a lot of them just
likewise.
And I'm just like, okay, yeah, y'all gonna get some sexually transmitted demons, and y'all don't even trust me. I smell like a walking infection. But anyway, moving on. I saw a video with Umar, and he was talking to Nick Cannon, and he was addressing when Nick Cannon wore a dress. And Nick Cannon was like, was there something wrong with me wearing a dress? And he's like, well, you think about it. He's like, we have black men. He's like, what? He's like, there's a difference between the divine masculine energy and the feminine energy, and then the sex. He's like, what you're portraying is the feminine sex. You have the masculine energy, which usually a lot of times is that defending and the aggression. He's like, but then you have the feminine energy, which is that patience, the emotion. And so that's why I thought of that when I think Rio had said it, when women speak emotionally. I'm like, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of women, they are logical with things, but their patience of when they're going to speak about it is ultimately, I feel that, because
I wouldn't call it patience.
Yeah,
I would not see. And this is where I teeter that line.
Because as it's going on, I feel like as the time is going on right then and there, they won't say anything, and they're thinking about how they're going to do it, and eventually they blow up. And by that time, the man is already past that. So he's like, where the fuck is this? It's a
game of chess. It is a game. You're collecting all these pieces,
thought out,
for such a time as whatever. That's not patience. That's not patience.
That's patience. Because me,
bring it up.
I'm going off the first text message. I'm going off the first text message.
Setup is what that is.
And I just want
you are right? When you start looking at things and holding cards and holding pieces, that's not patience. That's calculations.
That's you take patience to have calculation.
One very wise,
right or wrong.
How you think you thought out that plan?
Negative.
You don't have to have patience to wait shit out.
Like to get all of your pieces.
Not really. Some folks set themselves up. Some folks, you sit there long enough and they be done seal their own.
Look at what you just said. You sit there long enough. You sit there long enough.
Hold on. I want to hear what Impossible got to say. Bro, man is.
Go ahead.
His eyes are gleaming. He's got a finger
For
up.
real. He about to say something.
And listen. And these are the relationships that they're in and what we are defining. And we're asking the question, what? Look at what we're defining. Listen to this. Calculated. We out here strategizing a war, and we talking supposed to be about relationships.
See?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be talking about building a unity and building a community and coming together and bringing each other together as one. But we out here strategizing on one another. But and this is what relationships are about today.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. When you don't have communication and you holding on to stuff, just waiting until you bubble over. Look, your cup can only hold so much. You can only put so much in this pot. You're going to keep holding on to stuff versus addressing whatever it is that bothered you at that time. And the thing is, and this is another problem people are having, they are not going into these relationships with these clean slates. Mind you, I understand past relationships kind of set up how you feel about certain things. However, you're no longer in a relationship with that individual. If that's going to be a stumbling block that you have, that's something that you should communicate. Mind you, people don't normally start relationships talking about their past relationships. For whatever reason, that's a whatever. No, I'm a firm believer in you don't have to put names out there. I would put situations out there. If this is what we're fixing to do, if we're saying we're getting ready to be in a relationship, I'm going to need to put all of this out there because there's no need for me to be mad at you for something that I could have prevented because I didn't tell you that was an issue that I had. Why am I mad at you? Because it's my issue.
Let me ask you a question as a woman. So as a woman, how would you handle a situation when you don't even know that you're broken in your masculine and feminine energy? How do you handle a relationship? Because I know how I did it from a man perspective. I ruined a lot of relationships because I didn't understand that duality. That's a single. It's in all of us.
Yep.
So how do you, as a woman, how do you deal with that?
I literally have to lay it out there. I literally have to put my whole self out there. I have got to trust that you are not going to turn around and weaponize what I am saying to you. That if you cannot be that open with an individual, you don't need to be in a relationship with that individual. If you can't be that open to put that out there, to acknowledge it for yourself, you don't need to be in a relationship. If you don't know what you have a problem with, or you don't know what rubbed you the wrong way, you don't need to involve yourself with anybody else until you can figure it out. Mind you, you can be in a relationship and figure yourself out, but that's where that communication comes in. You have to say, hey, hold on a second, that was a trigger. This took me back to this spot. This is where I had this problem stem from. Now, that person can either acknowledge it or, that's not what I meant. And you can move on from there and they can hold that piece saying, okay, this is a trigger for that person. But if that person keeps doing that same thing over and over again, guess what? That is not the person you need to be in a relationship with because they're either using that to continue to trigger you and they're not helping you get past that trigger.
Yeah.
So it all boils all the way back down to communication, either not only with the next person, but with yourself. Some people need to be in a padded room with themselves.
We've lost the principles too of what it is to be in a relationship and how to be. And speaking from a man's perspective, we have forgotten what it is to be in a true relationship with self. Therefore, we have faltered being in relationship with our divine feminine energy. So does our women. We have failed. So now we must become right within ourselves first. And so it's difficult to become right within yourself with ideologies that set off from the very principle that put you in harmony with nature, which is your divine self. And that's what I understand, that when my relationships got better, it's because the principles that I allowed into my life were as one. It wasn't about me, what I wanted from a woman. It was what I was bringing. Was that bringing harmony into that? Was that bringing upliftment into that relationship? Was it bringing uplifting to me? Could I turn my back and do something and know, oh, I ain't gonna worry about what I'm doing because I know I ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Versus, damn, she's still thick over there. You know what I'm saying? So it's those principles that we have to get back to, and we have to teach that from our youth, because we find out after we've been already shattered and battered. You know what I'm saying? You come into a level of consciousness in your 40s and 30s. I mean, I came into a level of consciousness in my 30s. So that still was 30 some odd years that I had to wake up and just like, oh shit, I did all this and just had to swipe all that shit, like years of learning. So it's like learning how to walk again, like learning how to think again. Like that's what relationships was for me.
See, that's one of the things I didn't want. This is how I wanted to get into the topic. I was like, all right, let's end up flowing into it, because me and Impossible, we had conversations about how a lot of relationships these days kind of look at this toxic love, and we're like, that is not a relationship, that is a war constantly with everything that is going on. So I mean, I knew eventually the topic was going to flow into that. And again, when it comes down to this, I like to talk solutions. And I was like, what can we do? And y'all already start flowing into that, the solution of what we would need to do as men and women to really combat that mindset that we have of hurt people, and nobody was trying to heal before getting into another relationship. So Miss Sigma Uno, I thank you for bringing that to the table. Of a lot of people get into relationships that really should not be in relationships. They need to be in a padded room with themselves to deal with themselves and really learn themselves before they try and be with somebody else.
Yep,
I did.
Yep. Like,
well, because if you keep running into the same thing,
yeah.
I said padded. Some folks
no
padded
padded.
around sharp objects.
I wasn't padded
But
though.
I say that because if you keep going through the same thing over and over and over again, seeing the same thing over and over and over again, it can't be everybody. It can very well be you. But you have to own that. You have to own it.
You got to start knowing yourself.
And I think at this point in juncture, especially the time we're in now, is at a grave disservice. I don't think I don't know how the 20s and some of the 30s are even entering into relationships, because everything around them is broken. Everything is broken. At least in my time, my mom, bless her heart, she couldn't keep life together if she had a bucket. But everybody around me, my biological father, relationship solid. The man who raised me, relationship solid. My grandparents on both sides, mind you, they had their drama, but relationship itself was solid. Not that it was healthy, it was solid. Everybody had, I wouldn't even necessarily say role, but they had their give and take and concessions that they took to remain solid for their household, for their families, and everything flowed. So for my generation, there was some examples, but there were enough examples to see what you wanted and what you didn't want for yourself, as far as what a relationship with another person could look like or could be. You could see the toxic ones where you would, be at your friend's house and they dad is with somebody else's dad coming out the mom's room. That ain't they dad. That's so-and-so's dad. You saw these things growing up, right? So you knew that was not something that you wanted to have in your relationship. Then you have my grandparents that were from the South. Their parents were sharecroppers only because slavery was technically abolished. So literally slave time marriage is what my grandparents grew up with. Were married at 14 and 18 until my grandfather died when they were in their late 80s. But my grandparents didn't die until they were 104 and 108. So I got to see relationships that were formed out of horrible situations to people that hooked up because they wanted to hook up and be together and stay together through all the things that happen with regards to race, with regards to economy, with regards to households that went through the 60s and 70s, where they decided to break up the Black households and literally take men out of it and try to make them obsolete, to be through the 80s where, oh, this Miss Independent woman, I can do all things, and the system this and all. I saw and lived through all of that. But to be in the 30s and 20s at this point in 2024, there is 90 Day Fiance. They now have a 90 Day to Single. That's crazy. The Bachelor, the Bachelorette. Oh my God, it went wrong when they had Flavor Flav, Flavor of Love, or whatever that was called. When that hit the TV, I was like, oh, here we go.
Society going down.
There's I don't know where they're getting their examples from. I don't know where they're getting their examples from. They don't have the Cosby Show. They don't have.
You just said it.
There's nothing.
That's when they went down.
But you just gave all the examples of where they're getting images from. You just broke it all the way down. And listen, they did it on purpose. You know what I mean? They created this functionality for a system. It's a system. It ain't something that Black men get up and said, I just want to be dysfunctional today. A father is not, when he's born and he's 7 years old, he's not saying, I'm gonna have 5 kids, I ain't gonna be shit, and I ain't gonna do none of their life. He ain't saying that at 7 years old.
I'll be damned if someone would actually say that.
Say that shit for real. Man. Like I wouldn't even say Black people. I would just say impoverished people.
Body.
Because it happens on all spectrums. That doesn't even
happen in poverty anymore. It doesn't happen just in poverty anymore. But there is no 7-year-old boy that says they want to have. Yeah. Every 7-year-old boy that I can think of right now that I have dealt with at any point in time, okay, whether it be a household where the father's there or the household where more likely when the father is not there. When I have kids, I want to be there. Mm-hmm. They know what it's like to be without, but they don't know how to be with or how to
don't know how to be there.
They had no example. There was no example.
Exactly.
That's my point. That's my point.
And then they get thrust in these situations. They get thrust in these situations where now they're a father. There's no example. They know they want to be there, but they done got into this relationship with this woman that they shouldn't have been there to begin with, because neither of them have dealt with any of their issues. But
or even know each other. That's all they know. That's all they know.
But that's not going to hold a relationship. That sex doesn't raise a family. Sex doesn't put in morals and standards and beliefs and edify the body, edify the mind, edify the spirit. Doesn't do any of that. And then you get those that, Lord, forgive me, I'm going to say it, and I'm the pastor's daughter, but you get these single mothers that go to church and they put these men in front of their children as examples of the man that should be in their life, or this is what, I don't know how they even explain it, because I didn't go through none of them changes. I just couldn't do it. Those are not examples of a father. That's the deacon of the church. That's the pastor of the church. They have their own idiosyncrasies, their own whatever. Unless you are in that family, unless you are part of that family to know the intricate works and ins and outs, I wouldn't put some random guy in front of my kids and say, hey, this is what your father could be like if you had one. That's not how that works. Because then you run into that child seeing all the negative extras that person has in their life that you don't even know about, because kids see things that adults just don't see. And they process them way different than what we would process them as. So now that they've seen this person that's supposed to be the person that's supposed to lead them in that path, as far as that male energy, that male role model is not what they should have. And I dare say that in some instances, it's better to raise them until you can raise them and make sure that you instill in them what they need to make themselves. But to have them formulate themselves into or emulate somebody else is the worst thing that has happened. It's the worst thing that's happened because everybody wants to be a rapper, everybody wants to be a gangster, everybody wants to do all these things, and that's what you put in front of these kids is those things. And no, just no.
You have to let them be their own person, first and foremost. You know, and a lot of society has been, I feel, built around, you know, destroying the creative genius of children through, you know, those patriarchal nuances that are put out through media, that are put out through, you know, whatever religious institutions that are, you know, ruling that community or whatever, you know. It's really, really sad to see. And you know, it's like the whole indigo children like conspiracy and all that. Like they there's a lot of people out there that believe that like a lot of kids who you know were really honestly exploring their creative genius were stomped on by the government through ADHD medication and shit like that. And you know, bullshit systems that tell them that their behavior is a problem, when in reality they just needed to check their emotional maturity and their emotional not emotional maturity but their emotional regulation. They need to be taught how to understand their feelings and understand their emotions so they can think through their emotions logically and explore their creative genius. And you know, it's a whole mess, and I hate seeing it. And I'm glad that my stepson Eli is a person and I love him so much. And he makes my day brighter every day. He makes my heart smile because he is independent. He is figuring things out on his own. He gets frustrated, you know, when he feels like he's having a hard time with things. And a lot of times he just doesn't want to work through problems, and that's okay, you know. But as long as we're continuing to teach them to be themselves, you know, I think we'll have a good society. You know, we'll have people that are more willing to connect and more willing to try to understand each other and try to explore solutions to complex problems with compassion and creativity. And we're seeing that change, hopefully. So yeah, it's yeah.
I wanna add a little something on there. Do you feel that growing up and having relationships, it stems a lot from the emotions that you were or how you were taught to deal with emotions as a child?
Yeah.
I would say initially, yes, until you're either taught how you deal with your emotion or you learn how to deal with your emotion. But you know, and initially, whatever you see about relationship as a child, in the beginning, that's going to be your type of relationship because that's the archetypical image that you're going to go by. I don't give a damn what nobody says. You can't fight that. That's why we all had certain type of relationship because we saw it in our psyche whether we wanted that or we wanted other. So ultimately, when we come back around to it, it just depends on you how you're going to handle it. But with those principles, you get to teach a child from your age, 1 and 2 years old, how to deal with emotion from spiritual principles that they can walk with the rest of their lives with it. When every time they get emotional, they can go to these principles. Every time she get emotional, she goes to these principles. They have images, they have stories, they have myth, they have things that they can look at and say, that's who I am, that's my history. We lost our identity. Now you have to get that back, even in relationships, because of all the things that we're describing the dysfunction of relations. And I know we go through ups and downs. I get all of that, and this is what happened. And yes, we went through all of those things. But the thing that hurts us the most is the dysfunction. So that's what we want to correct. But the real reason that the only way to correct the dysfunction is to correct the psyche. You got to connect the mind, your heart, and your
They're too
spirit.
busy. They're too busy being entertained. Dysfunction is not entertainment.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much dysfunction out there.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the normal way of living. So they market dysfunctionality in the system. When we wanted to be back to harmony, now the harmony coming back as it is, but you have to know thyself in order to have that harmony. If you want to stay in a dysfunction, now you welcome to stay there. That's cool. That'll be your vibe. That'll be your frequency. That's cool. So sometimes we have to allow, as they say, allow the dead be dead, and not want to correct somebody. Sometimes they came here to have that dumbass experience. I don't know.
Everybody can't be Lazarus, huh?
You know what I'm talking about? We have this savior complex where we feel like because we know that all this energy and all this knowledge is out here that everybody else is going to just grasp on it. And yes, we're going to, yeah, but you got to look in the mirror. You got to see yourself. You got to let go a lot of shit that once identified. What happens? Do you remember the very first time you had to let go of that one thing that made you who you were, but you had to let it go? You remember that first time you encountered that?
They didn't want me to be great. Yeah, no,
Do you remember your first time?
It wasn't.
Huh? Did you remember?
I didn't put it down. I put it on the shelf so I could go back and pick it up.
Okay.
But I know the use of it. I know the use of it.
All right.
And I found the space for it. You got to know the use in the space. Everything that's in you has a time. There's a time for everything that's in you. Whether it be for advancement or self-preservation, everything that's in you, there's a place for it. Now, how you got those things is something completely different. But how you use those things will either help you or hurt you.
Jay.
That right there, I need to hear. I need to hear that, Mr. Guno. Everything has a time.
Well, it's called divine time. Relax your mind. It is.
Let your conscious flow.
Really? Why you to be like that? Yes.
Somebody wrote a song about it. Want to hear it go?
Yeah. Well, we want things so fast, and even in relationships, we want them to happen so fast because we already have an idea of what we want the relationship to be about. You just met her 2 days ago. You 3 months down the road. Girl, we're gonna go on vacation 3 months from now. Wait a minute, I don't even know we're gonna make it 30 days. We done fast forward. We don't be living in the present. A lot of time people stuck in their mind in these relationships saying, but I want love too. But what is it? Then they start telling you about a bad relationship.
Expecting love from somebody else. Yeah, see, you too busy expecting love from somebody else and you don't love yourself.
I was just about to say that, damn it.
And you don't love yourself. You don't love yourself. If you're looking for that coming from someplace else, if you're looking for that to come to, I need love, I need affection, I need. All of those things all of those things you can do for yourself. All of those things you can do for yourself.
Of course.
And if you can't make you happy, how is somebody else going to make you happy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with me first. Love me better. Love yourself.
If you don't know how to make you happy and love you, then you can't help or you can't teach anybody else to love you the way you need to be loved. Or even what your version of love is not the next person's version of love. Somebody can love your dirty draws, and it doesn't mean anything to you because that's not how you receive. That's not love for you. That's not your love language, right?
There you go. That's what you took the words right out of my mouth.
I got a kid that unless you are up in her face you don't love her. You have got to be right up underneath her, or she is neglected. I got another one that if you feed her, oh, she is in hog's heaven. That's love. You thought enough of me to bring me a burrito home. Oh, see, I knew this man loved me. But they don't have to be up underneath each other. You know what I'm saying? So I've got 5 girls. All of them have different love languages. You put them all in the same space, they will irritate the hell out of you. But to the point where they know themselves enough to know what it is that is going to satisfy their outward need, or acknowledge their outward need for love and affection and partnership and all of those things. But if you don't know what it is that makes you happy as an individual yourself, they could literally move the moon, the earth, and all the stars for you, and it wouldn't mean anything to you. You would still feel alone. You would still feel neglected, and you wouldn't feel loved because that's not your love language.
But you instilled that type of love language. You showed the archetypical form of that love language. You allowed them to understand that from an example of that love language. So that would definitely be something that they could easily speak because the representation was such at a high level. So it will be behoove. Oh, definitely. You wouldn't be sitting here right now expressing what you're expressing right now if you didn't do it at a high level.
Well, the thing is I did it for myself. I did that for myself.
That's what I'm saying.
So everything that I gave my girls was introspective. You need to know these things for yourself. You need to be able to take care of yourself. It's not a matter of dependence. It's not a matter of anything like that. So when they entered into relationships, the relationship itself was not a necessity. However, I would like to get to know you, and I see that you're an individual that I could build, grow, and we can exchange whatever. You know what I mean? For all intents and purposes, when it came to my last 3 girls, it got to the point where you are your own corporation. Do not take on assets that are going to be liabilities. If it doesn't expand, if it doesn't grow, if it does not introduce anything new and plentiful into your time space or then it's not worth it. Why go backwards? Mind you, it's not wrong to have friendships because everybody's not at the same space. And people cleave to things that they want to have or be around or achieve. So just because that person wants to be around you does not necessarily mean that is the relationship for you.
Right.
But to be able to differentiate that, that comes with some hurdles and some failures and some other things. But again, to know yourself well enough to acknowledge it. Evolution.
We call it evolution. Yeah, that's what we call it.
Evolve past this. But
we call it evolution. What's up, Sigmo?
What's going on? How you doing? Oh man, I know I missed a lot.
Yeah, we just talking. We just talking. Man, damn. That was deep. That was deep. That was a lot. I should have took fucking notes. I'm sorry. I was just stuck in there listening. I was like, dang, bro. I'm thinking about myself and everything I'm doing. I'm like, dang, bro. I'm disappointed with myself right now. Need to wake the fuck up.
Oh boy, sit down. Yeah.
No, but I don't think it's intended to be that way. I mean, me knowing who Mrs. Sigma Uno is, it took me years to wrap my mind around what is my role in a person's life who has that huge of a mental capacity. It's like, do I even exist there? Should I even be here at all? Period. But there is something that I have to offer. There's a reason I'm there, but it's not to completely overcast who she is to create this partnership that is humongous and that makes a mark on the world. And that's the way I see it. And honestly, this relationship has kind of been in the making for a lot of years. And even now, I mean, I've had relationships before that were just an epic fail because of the lack of communication, because of the lack of wanting to understand me as an individual, or vice versa. But it changes. It changed because I need to know who she is. I need to know her expectations. I need to know what caliber of person that she is, and not necessarily to be that, but to know that I have the ability to match it and to be there with her. Yeah, yeah.
I feel that completely because like with my partner in the beginning, I aggravated the shit out of her because I wanted to know what she was. I wanted to know what would make her cry, what makes her happy. I wanted to know how she responds in those types of situations. I wanted to know her completely. Which she took it as I was annoying as fuck. I was like, no, because I've been in relationships where, for example, my ex-wife, she didn't know who the fuck she was. Like while we were dating, we did a whole bunch of things, and then when we were married, tried to do some of those things. She's like, I don't want to do that. I was like, we did it before when we were dating. She was like, I did that because you wanted to do it. I'm like, well, what do you like doing? She's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, and then when you ask the person what their favorite color is and they don't know that, it's like, damn, you don't even know who the fuck you are. Oh.
Well, and then she's like, periwinkle. What the hell is periwinkle?
Oh, speaking of Puerto Rico. I mean, ultimately, I'm like, I did not want to fall in love with another masquerade. I didn't want to fall in love with another mask. And so I made sure that the person that I was vetting, I got to know them and made sure they knew who they were. And the way that she was, I'm the same way. And I know that I am this way due to a lot of things I have been through in life. So that already had let me know. I was like, she's been through some shit. I was like, she's been through some shit. And then as time went on, I started learning. I was like, okay, cool. And then we started sharing and communicating. And I mean, I ended up learning about her and things that she was suppressing, and me allowing myself to open up and tell her things that I have gone through and things that I'm still battling and all that stuff. It was a level of vulnerability to where it grew that trust. And with the trust of things that we have all been through together already, even in a short amount of time, I had told her one time, she got pissed at me because she was in the shower. I was like, babe, do you think we're supposed to be together? And this is where I was like, men and women think differently. Because the way that I was asking was like, in my head, I felt like we have been together before many times in different lifetimes. Like, I feel like are we supposed to be together? Like, no matter what happens in another timeline and all that stuff, we're always supposed to be together. Like, we're going to come together. She took it as in me questioning our relationship. That was funny. I was like, wait, what? This just took a complete 180. But then
came out of left. You like, hold up.
Yeah, I was like, dang, I thought that it was like the sweetest thing in the world. Like, I felt like we're supposed to be together. Like, no matter what,
I died. Context.
We died in another lifetime. We're together. She took it as in like, you want to leave? Like,
I will find you.
What the fuck you mean about it? I'm like, no, it's not like this. I'm over here, it's like I'm trying to present a rose and she coming at me with a hatchet damn near. But anyway, and I was like,
y'all looking like that couple off of Living Single, and we still together.
but seriously, when it comes down to how we talked about earlier about trust, I've been in the situations where it's like I trusted someone with some things, and they try using it against me later on. I'm like, you can trust everybody, but you have to know what you can trust people with. You can't trust everybody with everything. Like, for example, I might be able to trust Vexton with giving me a cup of water, but I wouldn't trust him with watching my kids type thing, you know?
So, I mean, yeah, because your kids, boy, those are acquired tastes, buddy.
I know, because my kids will probably kill him. Yo, my kids are something different. I'm just warning you. Like, I would come to grab my kids and they'd be sitting on the front porch, and I'm like, yo, where is he at? Open the door and you're duct taped to the wall somewhere. Like, I'm just letting you know. They have creative minds. All right, think about this. Their mom is not as crazy as I am. So
you got baby kids.
Oh no, them ain't no baby kids. They're not baby kids.
Yeah, they're not
baby kids.
No, they are not baby kids.
They are sweet in the public eye, but they are destructive in the.
She said, "Wait, don't get my grandbabies like that."
yeah, hold on. Yeah, no.
Look at that. Look at you.
Don't do baby.
See, you already messed up. Impossible. You already messed up. You already have the guys. Don't do like that, bro. I'm gonna leave him. I'm gonna leave him with you for 30 minutes. People like, nephew,
come and get your kids.
They just being kids, man. They just kids being kids. We put all these labels. Kids just being kids, man. Yeah,
they are.
I got grandkids. Yeah, listen, I got grandkids. I want to. You remember the Sparta kick? That's what I be feel like doing to my grandkids sometimes. You understand me? And I love them to death. I love my grandkids. There ain't nothing that I won't do for my grandkids. If you say it, I'm gonna do it for them. No, don't even say it. But sometimes I just want to let them know this is Sparta. You know what I'm saying? Give them that full kick, bro. Yeah.
Do you know how I'm taking?
But I'm gonna ring this back around to with the relationships. With the relationships, it does deal with a lot of trust. It does deal with a lot of communication. Communicating to your partner those boundaries and those triggers. Now, with the boundaries and the triggers, I can't even remember what episode it was, but I had talked with some other people. I think Dario was on with this one, and we were talking about when do you stop allowing those triggers to be a part of you?
When you gain the knowledge. What happened when you ain't got no knowledge that you don't even know that you trigger?
When you use
what happened? You don't. Well, what you do if you ain't know? If you don't have the knowledge, how do you stop being triggered and change the whole way of how you deal with life? Your whole reality is based upon it. How you do that with no knowledge?
You're stuck in a loop.
Right. But it's how you
okay.
Yeah, you're stuck in a loop, and you cannot. It's something you can't get out of. I mean, the problem is you find things that you believe that are right, and when you realize that and it works for you, you keep using it over and over again until it's stale to everybody around you. That means, okay, we've been doing this. It's worked for a period of time, but now I have to change it because it's not working anymore. That's because you haven't done any inner work. You haven't looked inside of yourself and said, okay, what do I really want out of this life? And I get that that traumatic experiences change the view of all of it because you feel like you're in a prison. But at one point, that inner work has to start, and it only starts when trauma hits. So you can go through a million traumatic experiences, and if that one thing seems right to you, you keep using that one thing, there's not going to be a change at all, period. Sometimes it takes a person showing up and saying, hey, you're a really cool person, but it seems like you're doing this, but it doesn't really work. From the outside looking in, it doesn't really work. Maybe that'll trigger a thought. But if you want serious change, it has to be an inner work. And it has to, maybe it's a commercial, maybe it's a video that's playing on Facebook that says, hey, this inner work is important. You have to do something on the inside to figure out what works for you and what puts you in a position that you can manifest exactly what you want your life to be. But it has to be a trigger. It has to be a trigger, or it has to be a traumatic experience that makes you say, okay, it's time to change. Outside of that, it's hard because that person is clutching this situation like pearls and using that whole situation as a montage of the most of their life. And it's, again, the hard thing about it is it's going to have to be a trigger to make you change. It's going to have to be an event, or it's going to have to be someone that you hear say something and say, hey, well, man, I should try that. But it's hard. Otherwise, it's hard. Otherwise, it's really
hard. I'm gonna go ahead and say this real quick. Hey, Sigma Uno, that last little bit you did, I am going to make that a video and put up on social media. That right there is a whole little commercial you just did. So just let you be forewarned. All right, you will see that.
Right.
That's the big problem with like manipulative abusers. You know, they want to script your thought process. They want you to be in that hole so they can walk around you in that loop. You know, and sometimes it does take that one trigger at the right time to really break that loop and break through and really start growing in the way that you need to, in the direction that you need to. And you know, even it'll help you even like break through those loops. You know, the coming loops, you know, once you've seen through the bullshit once, it gets easier to see through the bullshit the more it comes. And you know, I always say realize, you know, because that's the fucking truth. You know, I believe words have power. Yes, words have power. Yes, but feelings are real. You can use your words to help clarify your feelings, but words often put more people in boxes than you'd ever want, you know? And so like, just be real with your feelings, work through the system that has been placed around you, and grow into who you are and your thought processes and your feelings, and not what everybody else wants to put on you. And you'll start seeing the real eyes.
Yo. With you saying that, next week's topic, surviving the narcissistic tactics. Objections?
Bet.
I wouldn't even necessarily say narcissistic.
So narcissistic surviving the manipulation tactics. Because
I wouldn't even talk about the negative side of it. I would just talk about surviving tactics.
There we go.
Because you don't want to give life. You want to give life. You want to continue to give life to
again. That's what I was saying. Don't spend so much time defining the thing that's the damn problem.
Right.
Don't spend that energy in there. Spend the energy where you want it to be. That's in creative.
It's out there. Is how you get past these hurdles.
Right. What's your next plan for the next 10 years? Are you 10 years? Are you 20 years ahead? You know what I'm saying? Are you 30 years? I mean, we got to understand. I was in a workshop with Billy Carson a couple of months back, and he talked about companies having a projection for 100 and 200 years.
Yes.
Company. They got projections for 200 years, and you don't know what the hell you're doing for the next 10 years? That's a damn problem.
You don't know what you're doing next week.
Next
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so when we talking about where we struggling from, we don't know where we going. We don't know if we want to do it collectively together or not. We don't know if my language is your language. You might not like what the fuck I say, and I might not. You might take it this way, and we ain't even there. We didn't get past that yet.
Wow.
But they already planned. They already planning.
Exactly. Because they know their focus.
Come on, man.
Their focus is to make sure that business keeps running, and the other departments is the legacy of that business, and they don't matter if they're going to be there or not. When they're dead and gone, it's going to be still running. That's the Rockefellers.
200 years.
That's the Tiffany's. That's the J.P. Morgan Chase. All of they've been doing this stuff, and they don't care about anybody around them. They don't care about what nobody says. I think it was Elon Musk. when they were tripping about him, whatever he tweeted, he was like, they can trip all they want. I'm going to keep doing my business. That's exactly what's going to happen, and that's the basis of it. And I found that's the only way to be, because if you don't, then you'll be eaten alive by everybody that surrounds you. You'll be triggered by everything that you pass by. You'll be triggered by small things that people saying you don't even know them. You have to get to a place to where it's you. Like we're talking about building this community. It's us in this community and what it looks like, and that's where it is. Otherwise, everybody outside of that ain't invited in, ain't got no business speaking on it. If they do, oh well, it beads off like water on a duck's back. That's the way it has to be. Otherwise, we cannot build, and that is the biggest problem for our community. Period. It is because we see this thing that we think is a monster, and we can't get past. Not realizing every ingenuity in our fiber is what built this monster. Every ingenuity in our fiber is what built this monster. We can't figure out how to reinvent. There's no need for that, because we are the creators of it from the beginning to now. It makes us again.
You just got to be all innovative.
We come at the time. We come at the time. So surviving and planning.
Gotcha.
Surviving and planning.
Right.
Yeah.
Next week, surviving and planning.
Gotcha.
You're all stars, and I fucking love you. All right.
What did you say?
I said you're all stars, and I fucking love you. All right.
Oh man, blessings always to you.
So with it, like I say, I always want to end it with gratitude or what you learned, or both, however you feel. Ladies first, Mrs. Sigma Uno. You're muted.
I know. I just had to push the button. You know, I'm not quick on the draw. I'm just thankful again for the platform, and that they're no matter how small or how large the group of individuals, it's a respectful conversation. It's an actual conversation. It's not necessarily a debate. It's a conversation. Because it's everybody's perspective coming into one pot. I'm grateful for that.
Sigma Uno.
It's always gratitude for this podcast and the opportunity to speak to like-minded or elevated-minded people, and then the big part is understanding everyone has the understanding of what the solution is in the same direction. So I'm grateful for that. And that what I learned today, I just learned that it's a relearn from Brother Impossible. It's not giving life to circumstances, situations, or things that are titled to destroy us, and just leave it be and find the solution and work towards the solution.
Impossible.
Man, you know, it's always gratitude with me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's always that expression of love. Like I said, it's just a dynamic of it. Sigma Uno, when you get those files from Ira, and you go into that Kabbalah and that spiritual alchemy, you'll find out that the answer to that.
Okay, gotcha.
You get that file, you'll find the answer to that, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, I got it. But it's always gratitude. You know what I mean? Just being amongst us all. But yeah, this platform, and I love the diversity of it all. So you know, nobody is looking to talk over anybody. Everybody is just really sharing from their own experience and what they know about life and understand about life. And man, that's just all love right there. I'm always grateful to be a part of that.
Vexen.
It's gonna be gratitude for me too. Like it's always a blessed experience being here and being able to talk from my perspective as well, and hearing everybody else's perspective, and being able to come to an understanding. Like that's important. It's connection, you know. It's not a fight. It's a group process to grow and stand, and it's unity, you know. And it's beautiful, and I love singing it. I love being able to witness it. I don't know, feel witnessed.
Yeah.
So for me, I have to say the biggest thing that I took away I took away a couple things actually. I'm not gonna get into all of them because it's gonna go longer. But the time, there's a time for everything. Like Mrs. Sigmaluno said that, and it really. I'm an impatient motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie. And with that, it's like timing, and it's interesting because for the longest time, I kept getting told, I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I'm like, what the hell am I not listening to? A lot of things that end up happening was because of the fact that I tried rushing things. And the timing, that patience. It's all in divine time. Everything was coming to me, trying to tell me timing, slow down, listen. And even with the name of the platform, I didn't even listen to my own my own platform. So when she said that, I was like, damn. And then you had to hit me right afterwards with, come on, relax your mind, divine time. I was like, why you do that to me, bro? Why you do that? So that's the biggest takeaway I took from this episode. I mean, even when it comes to relationships, like I had this discussion. I'm about to drag it on, but briefly had this discussion with my wife's mom, and I was like, in the past, I used to talk to her and she would look at me like I had a dick on my forehead, but that was her listening. But the Marine in me is like, I say something, I'm expecting a response. So I would end up getting irritable because I'm not getting anything. She's not responding. And then the timeliness that I would like, she would sit there and think about it. I'm just like, yo, it's a yes or no question. Like, what the fuck's taking you so long type deal. So yes, timing, patience. And of course, I'm always got to give gratitude every day that I wake up, because in all honesty, I don't know what has been going on, but I'm just like, yo, every morning that I wake up, I'm like, I'm still here. All right, I'm still here. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm hearing of a lot of people just passing away every day. So I give gratitude for even waking up in the morning, because I know I didn't live the best life. Not saying I lived the worst life either, but I have a lot of things that other people don't have the luxury of having. And with that, I'm just give gratitude for being able to have the knowledge and wisdom to pass on the things that I know and things that I have, and also to be surrounded by individuals like y'all that are constantly pouring into my cup as I'm pouring into others as well. So therefore, it's a constant give and take, but there's never a moment where I'm feeling empty, you know? So I really give gratitude for that. And I mean, honestly, these Friday nights, my wife told me, she was like, no, you need Friday nights. That right there is a big thing that helps with your mental health, with my mental health. So I mean, I definitely give gratitude for that, because my grandma was right. Me having conversations like this is ultimately somewhat what I'm here for. And I'm not trying to reach everybody. I'm not trying to like monetize off this platform, but I want to reach those who it needs to reach, you know? And so far, it's like we're doing good. And at the same time, we're helping one another. So I give gratitude for that. Hey, this was amazing discussion. I don't want to call it a podcast. This was an amazing discussion, because that's ultimately what it is. We're learning from one another, and we're piquing each other's minds. Okay, this is how you think, this is how I think, and okay, I didn't think of it like that. So I mean, I really enjoy that. Anybody else have any comments, anything else they want to add? Without starting a whole nother conversation?
I'll wait for the next conversation.
All right. Next one, surviving and planning. Oof, that's gonna be good. Hey, I think y'all stand by.
Cut it live for a second.
Like take a step, rise above.